Hey everybody, Wardrobe here, and I'm trying to learn how to use tanks and vehicles a little better in ASL. And I'll start with a starter kit because I have it. Jeff and I from XTX would like to play Decision at Elst. This is a little preamble that won't matter in probably a few years if this is still out there. But I'm just trying to learn it better. So I was going to go through Rich's tutorials that he wrote up. You can find these on Board Game Geek, on Neil Euland's site, on Texas ASL site. Look up Rich Pham ASLSK tutorial. It's a 135 page PDF document. He covers everything. I just want to go over tanks right now. So there's a lot of stuff I'm skipping about ordnance and some other things. But I'm going to give this a shot, see if it works. So I thought I'm going to go through this. So I thought, well, I might as well record it. It's public information out there, and so I might make little notes. Or you might hear me do some goofy wardrobe Todd stuff. But so I'm just going to try to go and let me know what you think of it, and we'll try it. And I'm going to do probably just little sections because my voice will probably wear out, and I probably need to drag my drink. I don't expect this to be perfect, but we'll give it a shot. I'm just going to read it all. Chapter 5, Tanks. This chapter assumes that the reader has read and understood all of the previous chapters, rules, and concepts discussed in the earlier chapters, which will be used here with little or no explanation. This chapter will cover ASLSK 3, which adds tanks to the SK system and completes the basic SK rule set. Tanks add a whole additional layer of complexity to the basic ASL game system, and the vehicle rules differ from the infantry rules in many fundamental ways. SK3 includes two types of vehicles: tanks and armored cars. These two types of vehicles can be collectively referred to as AFVs, or armored fighting vehicles. Wardrobe side note, this was written way before Pacific was out there, and Decision at Elst, which had OB. So there's some stuff that he doesn't cover, but he covers pretty much all you need to know for 1 through 3. It would be awesome if someone or he would create something for Pacific, but I don't count on it because there's so much work done on this. Anyway, okay, 5.1, vehicle counters. Vehicle counters are absolutely packed with information. These counters may seem cluttered at first glance, but this packed design actually benefits playability. SK players have almost all of the information they need during a game right on the counter itself, which is handier than having to look up tank data on a separate card or chart. Another side note, a lot of this information, the details about each tank that they go into are on the ordnance notes and tank notes that are in each of the SK boxes that come with tanks. So I think he refers to that later. Each vehicle counter includes a detailed overhead line drawing of the vehicle with the vehicle's name, model, printed alongside the image. Some vehicle names may have a lowercase letter in parentheses added to the end, which denotes the country of origin for that vehicle. For example, the A, and I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of, like zooming in on these things is going to be nearly impossible, but you can kind of see it there. The A, right there, which is really tough to see, indicates that the Russian Sherman 3 counter shows that even though it's a Russian tank, it was actually manufactured in America. I learned that just now. I knew Sherman 3s but that was included on the counters. The caliber of the AFV's main armament, MA, appears in the lower left-hand corner of the counter. I'm actually Neil Euland has created a great cheat sheet here. Let's zoom back out, and I'm going to just, in a very professional manner, move the camera over here to this document. So I would recommend pulling all this stuff up. Again, Neil Euland, go to him. So you can kind of see that stuff. So the caliber appears in the lower left-hand corner of the counter. And the rate of fire number, if any, appears above it. This MA information is read exactly the same way as on gun counters. The only exception is that in those rare cases where the AFV's MA is not a gun, the British light tank MK6B counter, for example, shows * CMG as its MA, main armament. This means that the tank's coaxial machine gun, CMG, is treated as its main armament. And the asterisk tells you that there is additional usage information about this weapon on the back of the counter. If the note on the back of the counter is not clear, then you then check the Vehicle and Ordnance Historical Notes document or booklet, where it will be explained in greater detail. I believe this is Chapter H in the full rules. It is, in fact, always a good idea to review those historical notes for all the vehicles involved in a scenario prior to playing it to make sure that both players are aware of any special usage rules that might apply to those vehicles. I'm going to say he talks about this thing real quick here. Sharp-eyed ASLSK players may notice that the Sherman tanks equipped with the 75mm guns have their rate of fire number printed on a white background. This has no special meaning when using the SK rules, but for those who might be curious, in full ASL, the white rate of fire background signifies that these tanks have a very fast and accurate turret traverse coupled with a relatively quick-firing gun, which gives them certain advantages with respect to ASL's multiple hits rule and gun duel rules. That's kind of cool. Another thing I learned. Breakdown numbers for AFV MA. I don't know, should I use the abbreviations? It sure makes it easier. Main armament are handled exactly the same as for regular guns. A B12 is assumed unless a B number appears on the AFV counter itself. For example, the IS2s, which are these here. Let's zoom in on that. Have a special kind of break number, a B11 with a circle around the 11. The circled B number indicates that these tanks carried an unusually low number of rounds for their main armament. These tanks could potentially run out of ammunition during a battle. AFVs with a breakdown number, circled breakdown number, suffer main armament malfunction normally on an original to hit die roll of 12, but if the original to hit die roll is equal to or greater than the circled B number and is not a 12, the AFV is then marked with a low ammo counter. The low ammo counter makes the original breakdown number into an X number that will permanently disable the MA and creates a new break number of one less than the original circled break number. Holy mackerel. To summarize how this works. Yeah, that was confusing. Okay. If a Russian IS-2 rolls an original to hit die roll of 12, the main armament malfunctions, which means it can be repaired. We'll look at those counters in just a minute. Original to hit die roll of 11, you place a low ammo counter on the tank. Okay, that's cool. If an IS-2 with a low ammo counter rolls original to hit die roll of 11 or 12, then the main armament is permanently disabled out of ammo. Or if original to hit die roll of 10, this is where you do the one less, the MA malfunctions can be repaired. That's fascinating. Permanently disabled out of ammo can be repaired. Jeesh. A vehicle's machine gun armament is displayed in the lower right-hand corner of the counter. Let's zoom back out for that. It is displayed in the lower right-hand corner. This is a series of 2 or 3 firepower numbers separated by slashes. When all 3 numbers are present, they are read from left to right as bow machine gun, BMG, mounted in the front of the hull, coaxial machine gun, CMG, mounted in the turret alongside the main armament, MA, anti-aircraft machine gun, AAMG, mounted on the top of the turret, or in other words, BMG, CMG, AAMG. I think of it just starting lower in the tank and moving your way up. If the AFV does not have an AAMG, then only 2 numbers will be used, which would be the bow and the coaxial. If a dash is present instead of a number, as in this example, there is no, in this case, coaxial machine gun. The Italian L335, for example, shows 4// which signifies that it just has a bow machine gun and no CMG. A few AFVs have rather unusual armament. And I think we have one here. I can go back to that IS-2, I believe. Should just keep it on there, but this is fun to zoom in and out. The Russian IS-2, for example, shows 1/4R2 with a white dot behind the 1. The tank thus has a fixed mount, 1 firepower bow machine gun. There's a +1 die roll modifier when firing the bow machine gun at a moving target. Good Lord. A 4 firepower coaxial machine gun, a 2 firepower rear machine gun mounted on the back of the turret because it is on the second number here. I would assume if there's one in front of the 1, then there's a machine gun mounted on the body, or the bow, but not the bow. In the back of the turret, and a 4 FP AAMG. Whoa, hold on. 1-4. Oh, I do not have the right tank out here, so I apologize. That's yeah. So the example they give has a 4 firepower machine gun. Okay. The SK3 rules incorrectly identify the rear machine gun as a rear coaxial machine gun and neglect to point out that it has a covered arc exactly opposite of the main armament coaxial machine gun. So the coaxial machine gun can change its turret because it's on the turret. So if the turret's faced that direction, the coaxial machine gun will be facing that direction, and the rear facing coaxial gun would be facing in that direction. Okay, interesting. I'm going to have to read that again here. Hold on. Okay, so I showed a slightly different IS tank. We'll talk about that in just in the next paragraph here. I think that IS does not come, that I showed you, did not have an AA machine gun, but I think there are some that do. All right, so here's where we kind of get into that a little bit. AAMGs are considered optional equipment on certain AFVs, so their counters come in 2 versions. So that's probably an example of that. Some with an AA machine gun and some without. See the 6 Russian Sherman 3 counters. 2 of these counters include an AA machine gun, but the other 4 counters do not. So I do actually have an example of that here. We can put those here real quick. So I bet we've pulled out those IS at the same. So there's some with, some without. Hope that makes sense. That last number is the AA machine gun. When playing a scenario using such an AFV, you use the version depicted on the scenario card first and only use the other version if additional counters are needed. Thus, if a scenario calls for 3 Sherman 3s without AA machine guns, you could not use the counters with an AA machine gun. But if the scenario calls for 3 Sherman 3s with AA machine guns, you would then use the 2 counters with AA machine guns and 1 without an AA machine gun. Okay. All right. Vehicle machine guns have a breakdown number of B12. They never cower, and they do not have a rate of fire rating unless they are also the vehicle's main armament. Bow machine guns and coaxial machine guns each have a covered arc that works the same way as the gun's covered arc, but the AA machine gun has no covered arc and thus can always fire in any direction without CA change DRM penalties. Covered arc, die roll modifier penalty. A vehicle's movement point allowance is printed on the upper right-hand corner of the counter. If this number is printed in a white oval, the vehicle is fully tracked. If it is printed over a white circle, the vehicle is wheeled, like an armored car. If an asterisk appears next to the movement point number, check the back of the counter and or the historical note for special usage notes. If the MP number is printed in red, the vehicle suffers from a vehicle reliability. I don't expect you to see the number. Mechanical reliability problems, which apparently we'll get into later. AFVs can either be turreted or non-turreted. A turreted allows the MA or main armament and the coaxial machine gun to be aimed in any direction without having to change the direction that it is facing. A non-turreted AFV must turn the entire vehicle in order to aim the MA, which will always point to the AFV's front. There are 4 possible turret classifications in SK. Let's move this over here in my fancy moving methods here. Fast turret traverse, a thin white circle surrounds the depiction. A slow turret traverse, a thin white square surrounds the vehicle depiction. A restricted slow traverse, RST, a thick white square surrounds the depiction. I believe in full ASL there are others, by the way, I think. Non-turreted, there is no circle or square surrounding the vehicle depiction. Oh, I pointed to the wrong one. That's one I want to point you to. This is interesting and something else I learned. The one exception to the above list is the Russian KV-2. If you know anything about the KV-2, is just a huge beast. This tank is depicted as a NT tank or non-turret, but it does indeed have a turret, which turns so slowly that the tank suffers non-turreted AFV to hit die roll modifier penalties even when it turns the turret instead of the whole vehicle. Each okay, hold on. Each AFV is rated for the amount of armor protection it has in 2 areas, the turret and the hull. So the body of the AFV that the turret is mounted on. Non-turreted AFVs also have hull and turret armor ratings, but in this case, hull simply refers to the lower part of the body. The turret refers to the upper part of the body. Both hull and turret areas are further subdivided into 3 facings, front, side, and rear. The 2 numbers found directly below the movement point rating. We should probably go back to Neil Euland's, but we'll do this because it's fun. Actually, we really should look at that. Let me back up here and go to that. So let's again, I would encourage you to pull these out. So okay, the 2 numbers found directly. Okay, on the right side of the camera are the armor factors. Give the effective thickness of the armor in centimeters of vertical armor plate. Thus, an AFV with a front hull AF of 11 has an equivalent of 110 millimeters of armor protection on the front hull. I thought that was pretty cool that they kind of used that as a kind of a guideline for them. In many cases, the actual real-world thickness of an AFV's armor will be less than the value indicated by the AF because the AF rating takes into account such things as sloping the armor to increase its effective thickness. Amazing. The armor system uses a limited set of values. Those can be seen here, maybe if you can see it, but it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 11, 14, 18, and 26. No other AFV values are allowed. An AF of 0 actually represents armor up to 1 centimeter in thickness, and an AF of armor factor of 1 represents armor that is 1 centimeter to 1.5 centimeters thick. The 2 armor factor numbers printed on the AFV counter are for the vehicle's hull. The 2 printed on the counter are for the hull. The top is the value of the front of the hull. The bottom is the value of the side or rear of the hull. Front, side, or rear. The armor factors for the turret are derived directly from the hull assault armor factors. If the hull armor factor has a square around it, then the turret armor factor is 1 step stronger. If the hull AF is unmarked, the turret is identical to the hull. If the hull has a circle around it, which this does not show, then the turret is 1 step weaker. For example, a German Panzer 6B's hull has a front armor of 26, holy mackerel, and a side rear of 8, holy mackerel, what a difference. The turret AF are 18 front because the 26 is circled. The turret armor factors are 18 front because the 26 is circled, and an 11 side rear because the 8 has a square around it. This armor rating system is incredibly elegant and simple and requiring only 2 numbers to describe the armor protection of the AFV, and it is surprisingly accurate. There are only a handful of World War II AFVs that don't quite fit the system. Their hull and turret armor differ by more than one step on the ASL armor scale. The convention that a circle equals bad or worse and a square equals good or better is used consistently throughout the ASLSK and ASL system. The only exception to this is when a circle or square appears around a squad's class designation. For example, there are two American Elites class squads, a 747 marked with an E and a 667 marked with an E with a circle, with a square around it. The presence of a square surrounding an E on a 667 squad does not indicate that it is a better squad than the 747. It merely indicates that it is a different type of elite. I probably shouldn't even read that. Okay, anyway, AFVs can have varying levels of ground pressure, which affects their chances of becoming bogged. This is indicated on the counter with the unit ID letter at the top left corner. Unit ID in a square, low ground pressure, good. Unit ID unmarked, normal ground pressure. Unit ID in a circle, high ground pressure, bad. And finally, the two AF numbers also indicate the target size of the AFV. Target size affects how easy it is to hit the AFV, with small targets being harder to hit and large targets being easier to hit. Very small, well, I'm going to move this over because we have a variety of tanks here. Not that many different sizes though, but there's a couple here that we can kind of point to here. We don't like, so very small target, a white background behind both armor factors. A small target, the white background behind the top armor factor. Normal target, no color, which are all of these, but a large target, the top AF is printed in red. So right here, this one, and this one, because that's Sherman. It sits high, much higher than this, like SU or IS. And a very large target, both AFs are printed in red, this KV2. If you don't know the KV2, look it up. It's bonkers. That turret is just bonkers. On the back of the vehicle counter, the vehicle depiction appears again on a plain white background. This is the vehicle's wrecked side. Now this, I don't think he gets into all this information here. If the vehicle is eliminated in combat, it turns into a wreck by flipping to the white side. Oh, it actually does get into this. A wide variety of additional information can appear on the back of a vehicle counter. This information is provided so that players may have ready access to it during the game, but it is applicable only to an unwrecked vehicle. When a vehicle is eliminated and turns into a wreck, all the information for that vehicle on both sides of the counter is thereafter ignored. Oh goodness, these have a lot of stuff on them. Many vehicles have ammunition depletion numbers for the main armament, which are read in exactly the same way as ammo depletion numbers for guns. Oh boy. Some American and American-built AFVs have a depletion number for C ammunition, which is not used in starter kit. Okay, wow. In full ASL, these AFVs can fire canister rounds, which have a deadly shotgun-like effect against infantry, but with only a very short effective range. In addition to ammunition depletion numbers and special usage notes, so I guess I would encourage you, and I'm going to need to do this, go look at the gun chapter and understand all the some of those notes about the guns. In addition, there's special usage notes. The other information that can appear on the back of a counter includes small s, capital D number, that's the smoke discharger usage number, little s, capital M number, smoke mortar usage number, little s, capital N, Nafavida Guffenswaffe usage number. That's a like exploding shell or grenade that shoots out of the German tanks. Nafavida Guffenswaffe. Anyway, SN number. No IF, vehicle cannot use intensive fire. ML9 or ML : number means a morale. Oh, okay, Tiger crew morale of 9. I think most crews all have the same crew morale unless said otherwise. The remaining 4 items that can appear are used only when playing full ASL and do not apply to ASLSK rules. Oh, that's interesting. I played one of these with it, but last time I played else. G, vehicle may be equipped with a gyro stabilizer. SZ, they may be equipped with Richardson. R, circle around it. Vehicle is not equipped with a radio. CS, number, crew survival number, red equals decreased chance of a burning wreck. increased chance of a burning rack. Okay, so that's all full ASL. Okay, that is 5.1. It looks like the next thing we're going to cover is status counters. We'll make that a separate video. So let me know how this goes. Let me know, y'all, what you think of it, and if I should keep doing them.